24 Cross Media. And we are back, G-Mac and Winnie, back with another edition of the Outlaw Blitz interview podcast. Big fella, let's get dangerous.
Dangerous, most definitely. A lot of laughs I'm thinking are going to be about to come. Welcome to the show today, comedian Jeff Leeson. Welcome aboard.
Guys, thank you for having me. I'm very excited, super fired up after that countdown. Done a lot of shows. Not everyone's given a 30-second countdown like that. Didn't know what was going to happen at the end of it. In total suspense. So thank you. I'm already thrilled. I'm already excited. So
we actually went live to Pornhub instead.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm not wearing any pants, so that's probably now I can stand up. See, I wasn't
Perfect.
going to. So now if I want to, I can, and we won't get banned. I love it.
Awesome.
I do want to apologize for my, I don't know, there it is, my laundry there. The way I framed the video before I got on here, it wasn't in the frame, and I realized on this service it is. So my apologies. Those are clean. I don't know if that makes a difference to you guys or not, but those are clean.
All good, bro. All good.
Okay, good.
So you're busy right now. Looking at your schedule, you're a busy man. Weekend, every weekend it seems like.
Yeah, for the most part, right now, summer is tougher, I would say, to for people to go out to a show that isn't like something on a patio or like a big outdoor concert or something. So it's not as busy as it normally is. Normally I'm like on the road kind of all over the place, but yeah, for right now, weekends are pretty full for the most part.
Go ahead.
Okay. So been watching a lot of your stuff off your site on YouTube, on TikTok. You got your start. How old were you?
Yeah, I started when I was 14 years old, which is basically what, I was a huge fan of stand-up comedy at an early age, probably like 10 years old. I grew up in Canada, and there was this show called you guys probably heard Just for Laughs, the festival.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We had a TV show that ran on Comedy Network here in CBC and stuff, and they would play it every day after school, and I would watch it, and it was basically like multiple sets from comedians would each do like 7 minutes, and so you got to see different comedians like in a row, and I just became like enamored with stand-up comedy, fell in love with it, and loved the fact that I could see multiple comedians. And what ended up being, you would see these comedians that went on to be super famous, and you saw them like at that festival, which is where for a lot of them it started. So and then I would in school, when we would make speeches or have to do like presentations, mine would always be funny or have a humorous slant to them if I could. And even sometimes when I shouldn't, I did anyway. And so I was, and then I became the valedictorian of my grade 8 class and did like a speech in front of the school and got a standing ovation. And it was like right at that moment, I was like, I don't know what this is, but I want to feel this like forever. And then one day I was watching the Just for Laughs, and I was like, I think that might be what this is. Or a version of it, and so that's kind of where it started for me.
So how did you get your first stand-up gig? Was it an open mic or a tryout thing, or
all right?
You tried on family members?
Okay, my first show ever. So I had found out basically that the way you get into stand-up comedy is to do an amateur night or an open mic night, right? And we had a comedy club in London where I grew up, and so I wanted to go. I was 14 and I wanted to go do amateur night. So, but I'm a teenager. I lived at home with my mom. So I say to my mom, "This is what I want to do, and here's how you do it. You go to an amateur night." And she had recently been to that comedy club and saw somebody get heckled really badly. and was like, I can't let you do that. I can't send my son in there with a group of adults and have them just tear you apart verbally. But to her credit, she said, but here's what we'll do. Let's do our own show. We'll invite all of the friends, our family, people I played hockey with, friends from school, and we'll do it at her work in the auditorium at her work. And that way it's a controlled environment, and we know who's going to be there, and they know you and like you already, so they're not going to rip you apart. And then you can try it. And that was my first show ever. I was headlining, basically doing a one-man show for what I thought was 60 minutes. I thought I wrote an hour of comedy at 14, which was, it was just a stupid thing to think, regardless of what age you are. But and it ended up being like 25 minutes, maybe 30. And of that, like 2 of those minutes were like good or semi-good. and everybody was nice. They were nice about it. And, and that was the point was, but I should have started with 5 minutes, and it should have been a lot, whatever. But that was my first show ever when I was 14, might have just turned 15 or something. But yeah, around then. And that's how it happened. And that led me basically to my mom finally being like, okay, I'll let you go do amateur night somewhere.
So then you get to the amateur stuff. When do you immediately start to become the king of crowd work? Or is that something like over the years you just kind of started getting heckled and started heckling back?
No, first of all, I appreciate you using that king of crowd work thing. I thank you for that. I would never refer to myself personally as that, because I think there's crowd work, like comedy, very subjective. And there's a lot of people doing stuff way better than I do with that. But how that came about was, I for years and years, I was just stand up, set up, joke, punchline. Early on, I was very much like Jerry Seinfeld, because I really liked his show and his style and that kind of thing. And then it kind of, morphed into other things from there, but all just jokes and written down and, word for word, same thing every time. What ended up happening was, over time, my setups and stuff all kind of became questions to the audience. So I would ask them something and already have a joke prepared for it to go in whatever direction. And occasionally they would say something and I would have a retort, or I would have something that they said that I thought of in the moment. And it always got way bigger reception than anything I was writing or saying. They didn't give a shit about any of it. And then I would have this moment, and that would be my biggest laugh, and I couldn't recover. I had no idea how to keep that momentum. So I was like doing okay, then hitting something big, and then bombing or whatever. And then, sometimes I would try something to save it, and I couldn't. I could, like, it wouldn't work because I was trying to force it. It was something that it was these organic moments. And so little by little, those started happening more and more and more, to the point where it sort of became like 90% of it was written comedy and 10% of it was crowd work stuff. And then it was like 80-20, and then 75, and then 70. Eventually it became 50-50. And a friend of mine that was not a comedian came to a few shows, and he was like, you should do a whole show like that. Like, everything you're doing, they like more. You should do the whole thing like that. And I was like, dude, are you fucking nuts? There is no way. I go, you don't know anything. He wasn't a comedian. So I go, right. I totally understand, and you have no idea how this works, but there's absolutely no way I could do a 45 or an hour set of just that. It's not possible. And he was like, well, I think you should learn how to do it or figure it out, because that's, that seems to be the way. And so that, over the next like 3 or 4 years from that, it became trying to figure out a way to structure a show, but around a lot more of that kind of stuff. And just like, other in the moment stuff, whether it be about the venue or the town or the city, or like, my overall goal, honestly, every show is to make it very like personal and unique for that audience. So like when they leave, even if they're like, that guy fucking sucked, they have to agree that they'll never see it again, that it was for them. Even though you didn't like it, it was your show specifically for you, and you understand that cannot be repeated in the exact same way tomorrow if you came back, which you wouldn't if you hated it. So
Right. But that's what makes you unique, honestly, is you're not going to see a repeat show. You're not going to get the same joke, because the guy, we were laughing our balls off. We were watching the one where you busted on the guy with the
crest on
on the jacket. We were cracking up about that.
Yeah.
But you're not going to see that. The next night, that guy's not going to be there. It might be a cowboy or some shit, so that's what makes you so unique.
And even if the guy is there, most of the audience probably wasn't. So I can't even say anything to him that is even about last night unless I explain the entire thing, in which case it is not funny because they're not in that moment,
Right.
And that's what I love about the style that I've sort of worked into, is that you can, hopefully the audience can tell, like, this is being done right now. The preparation is, I've done this for years, and just, I know how to get in and out of stuff if I have to. It doesn't always go well. That's certainly not the case, but they can tell that it's being done like specifically right now. This is for you and you only, and that's it.
What happens if, like, we'll just use the crest jacket guy. If you get into, you bring it up and he's just totally not into it, are you moving on, or are you going to ride him a little bit harder, or just see how it goes? I mean, you got to really feel it out, I would imagine.
Yeah. So one thing I never want to do is make somebody feel uncomfortable. It's going to happen maybe at a brief moment, but that's easy to get out. But I don't want anybody leaving feeling like, what the fuck was that? This guy was he was all over me because I
rode my ass for an hour.
Yeah, because I have a crest on my jacket. Who the fuck is this guy? I don't want anybody leaving angry. So it's most of my stuff that's happening is not a down at them. It's not like, you're a piece of shit for doing that. It's more like, oh, that's cool. And the reason for that is everything I'm doing is just purely out of curiosity. That's the other thing. It's very organically about, like, I see a crest and I want to know more about it. I'm also fascinated with people who have had real jobs for long periods of time, because I've done this since I was 14. So like what I know about life is way different than someone who's worked in whatever that guy did, mechanic or whatever he was, for the last 30 years. And I'm fascinated with the decisions and, things like that. That's what I'm really asking about, is out of curiosity. And then the job for me is, can I take my curiosity, ask you a question, take your answer, and then somehow make that funny to these people who have no idea who you are. And in most cases, no idea who I am either. They just came to a random comedy show at a fucking Legion on a Saturday night. So I never want to make anybody feel uncomfortable with what I'm saying to them. So I really pay attention to facial expression, overall body language of the person, the people around them. If they are laughing, I'll go a little bit longer than I might, just because I know, like, his wife is laughing and his son, because they're not worried. If I see worry, like, oh fuck, dad's gonna lose his shit on the ride home because you just mocked him for his crests that he loves so much, then I would immediately have to back off of that as well, because I know that he's going to be really uncomfortable with that for a long time. So I try to really pay attention to, like, are those people and the people around them, are they enjoying what I'm saying? Are they cool with it? I also pay attention to previous jokes who's laughing and having a good time and who I think will be fun. And then is there something about them I'm curious about? Because I don't want to make anybody uncomfortable or feel like, fuck, I shouldn't have sat there, or I hate that I went to comedy, or ruin comedy for them. Some people, it's their first time ever at a comedy show. If I make you cry, you're not going to return to a comedy show, because that's not the point of one. So yeah, I don't want to do that.
I saw you get nervous one time when an older gentleman, you were busting his balls a little bit, and he came up on stage to show you something. You're like, holy shit. It kind of took you back a second.
Yeah, well, what he was showing me was his tan lines on his feet. But I didn't know that that's what he was coming up to show me. I was expressing how much I liked his tan. He was like this rich old guy. The show's at like a country club, and it was just a bunch of rich old people who were just super pumped about being rich. And I was expressing my love of rich old people and how much I enjoy the fact that this guy has so much time that he can be out there working on a tan, or possibly has a tanning bed in his home, custom built for his size, would be my guess, because he's very rich. So I was just expressing my, what a fan I was. Someone else mentioned that he always wears matching shoes or something like that. And that's when he chose to get up on stage, show me the shoes that match the pants and the belt, and also the tan lines on his feet. But then also mentioned that everyone at his table was a fan. So it went from me thinking I was about to die to being very grateful that they were fans and appreciated that they were there.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like your initial reaction was like, "Oh shit!" Like, here we go.
Yeah, he was a big guy, and not like a lot of people were older there than he was. He was maybe 60s, but he was a big guy who, if he was mad or something or took it the wrong way. I'm a big guy too, but I'm not a fighter, and so I just felt like he was gonna just intimidate, but I wasn't sure how he was going to do it. And so, yeah, there was a moment where he also wasn't laughing when he was stepping up on stage. You can't see that on camera, but he was not smiling or laughing. So it did not look like this was about to be a fun time. But it was, in the end, it was very enjoyable.
Oh, that's great. Now, going all through Canada and some of the U.S., did you have any favorite venues you've played or places you'd like to go back to?
Lots. I mean, we'd be here all day if I listed all of them, because there's so many that I've enjoyed over the years. One that I'll just bring up just because it's always so much fun is a place called One Night Stands Comedy Club in Waterford, Michigan, and a club called JP's Comedy Club in Gilbert, Arizona. And I realized I just brought up one, and I brought up two, but as I was thinking of one, another one popped into my head. So, and there's lots of them. Like there's lots and lots of places that I've had such a great time. But the reason those came into my head, I think, is because you're there for multiple nights in a row. A lot of the shows I do, I'm in town for one night and then I'm gone to the next town and the next town when you're on the road. But at the clubs, you're there like Thursday to Saturday. So you get a chance to experience the town a little bit more and figure out like the people's sort of sensibilities, what they like as a town, what you can joke about in the town as well to make it even more personal to where they live. So I really, those, there's also the Minden Opera House in Minden, Nebraska was absolutely, I mean, they just a fantastic. It was my first time in Nebraska. I didn't know what to expect. They had a whole painting on the ceiling that looked like the outside. It was just like cows and fields and a barn. Like, it was just a strange thing to put on a ceiling, but beautifully done. Like they spent a lot of money on it, but beautifully done. So yeah, I loved it there. Yeah. So, but there's so many. Like there's so many that I'm leaving out, and I feel bad, but I don't want to take up this whole thing. Imagine the rest of this show for 40 minutes. I'm just like, and Miles City, Montana. I just go through the map.
Is there a dream spot you'd like to go that you haven't gotten to yet, like the Garden, or you know what I mean, like a huge auditorium somewhere? Or...
So Madison Square Garden, I think, is like if your name is on the outside of Madison Square Garden, even if it's there's two parts as I understand it. There's the main arena, and then there's like a theater
Right.
thing. But either one, if you can fill either one, to me is like that's how you would be 100% sure. Like, wow, this has worked out, you know. So that's one that to me is like I would never even think of that. Like that's not even a thing. But if you're forced, you know, in this case, like if it's like what would that symbolize? Madison Square Garden would be the thing. But really, all I really want is to be able to go into really any city in North America and be able to have, you know, a nice theater in that city and know comfortably that I can sell it out. I mean, that's really the, you know, the overall goal. Just to be able to do that. So if it ended up being that I could also do that at Madison Square Garden, that would be absolutely incredible. Also, Radio City Music Hall comes to mind as well, and I know both are in New York, but that's such a beautiful venue, and like it just looks so cool, and seems like it might be a good comedy spot as well. So I would love to do that.
We gotta see if we can get him at UPAC here.
Well, UPAC would be great. Right where we are in about 20 minutes, not even 10 minutes south of us in Kingston, New York. There's a nice old timey theater where, I mean, you got to see who this year?
I just saw Frankie Valley.
Frankie Valley. It's
Frankie Valley was
really,
there.
really cool set.
Oh wow, nice. UPAC, that's what it's called.
Yeah, UPAC.
Ulster Performing Arts Center.
What's the first word?
Ulster. That's the county. Yeah.
Ulster Performing Arts Center. Yeah, I would love to. I would love to do that. I've been getting into a few more theaters, smaller sort of theaters and stuff like that, and really enjoying that. I mean, comedy clubs and stuff like that are always a lot of fun, and everybody's close, so it's like wicked for comedy. But really enjoyed some of the theaters that we've done. So yeah, I'd love to do that someday. That'd be awesome.
Go ahead.
What do you like to do in your spare time? If you have any downtime, what does Jeff like to do?
Yeah, I have very little of that just because also right now I'm the one doing all of the booking, in addition to stuff that we're doing with content and then obviously like being on the road and stuff. So it's a lot of there's a lot of scheduling to it, like you know, certain times of the day where bookings are more likely to be done, and then you know mid-evening and evening and stuff is a lot of content and creative side. But when I need to like shut off and just do nothing, I mostly just watch like I'll watch a show. Like I'm big on Curb Your Enthusiasm right now. I never got into that when it was big, so I'm kind of going through that right now. And that's about it. Like I'm not I don't really do like hobbies. I'm not a stamp collector. I don't sip wine and swirl it in my mouth and spit it out and then tell you everything that's wrong with it. I like food. I mean, food is not a hobby, but I do love, like one of the things I love about stand up is you go to all these places you've never been before and you got to find something that's open after the show. Cause I don't eat a lot leading up to a show, but after you have gone through this, the adrenaline wears off and everything, you're fucking starving. And I just love a great diner, pizza, all that, like, I mean, all a good steak, like all of that kind of stuff, pasta. So I really love being in a new place and asking people like, where do we have to eat around here before we leave?
Yeah, I mean that's probably some of the funner parts of traveling, right? Getting all the different food from
Oh
the different
yeah.
areas, and how it's geographically set up, right? Like maybe the best burgers are in Wisconsin, where you get milkshakes in Nebraska or something like that.
Pizza in New York.
I hope it's in New York,
I
New
would
York
too.
pizza.
You
And
know
poutine
what?
in Canada.
I had an incredible pizza one time in Great Falls, Montana. I
Really?
was, yeah, I was not expecting. Now, I have not had New York pizza. I haven't had pizza in New York. I've had New York style pizza from different places, but I have not had pizza in New York, so I can't do the comparison. But this place, like just the way they built the pizza and the way it was presented and the way like the taste of it, it was so much pizza that I could only eat like two, maybe three slices of this thing. And that is, I'm usually a finish it all type of a
Nice.
guy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yep.
At
Absolutely.
several different sizes as well. Like it's not a personal pan pizza that I'm taking and eating. It's a medium, sometimes a large if I've had a rough day. You know what I'm saying?
Most
So
definitely.
yeah, so I'm no stranger to finishing a pizza and also other people's slices as well because I don't hang out with people if they can't hang with a pizza. Well, sometimes I do so I can eat it, um, but yeah, so I do love pizza. Like pizza used to be my favorite thing when I first started touring. My favorite part of the whole thing. Like I loved the show and I would immediately leave the show. I wasn't a partier, so I wasn't going to bars and stuff. I would immediately go back to my room. I would go over in my head what happened on the show and why I bombed that night because that happened constantly. And I would just sit in my room and I would kind of write things down and go over it all. Eventually, the something sets in where you get really hungry, and I would always order a pizza. And like when I tell you that I can't 100% say that my excitement for going on the road was based on the shows and may have more been based on the amount of pizza I knew I was about to eat. I can't comfortably tell you that, but I'm pretty sure that it was at least 50-50 that the pizza after the show was going to rival how good I felt just being on stage.
Now, do you have a favorite beer to go with that pizza?
No, my favorite beer is called Canadian, Molson Canadian. Um, they don't have it everywhere in the U.S., but Michigan, a few places in Michigan have it. Border towns I notice have it more than anything. It'd be equal to like a Budweiser or something like that. Now, if a Canadian person heard that, I'm gonna get fucking messages. Don't ever compare Molson and fucking Budweiser. But to me, when I go to the U.S., it's usually Budweiser.
Well, we just had a guy on our show 2 weeks ago that ordered when he came home from Iraq in 1990.
Right.
He ordered Canadian Budweiser
Yeah,
because
because
the
a
alcohol
higher
content's
alcohol
higher.
content. Yep.
Oh, Canadian. Oh, really? Like
Yeah,
our
your version
version
of
here?
Budweiser has a higher content.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, we
I did
didn't. We
not
got
know
no
that.
idea. We're like, what are you
Yeah.
talking about?
He lives or he was from a border town in upstate New York, and could go basically drive right over the bridge into whatever part of Canada he was in and grab the Canadian Bud and go home. So
Wow.
he loved
Okay.
theirs.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I will say, just in being able to tour and see lots of different parts of America and different parts of Canada, I will say that your beer definitely is a little like you can sort of taste it's difference. You know what I mean? And I would say it probably does take an extra one or two, maybe one and a half to get you
Oh, it's definitely
Maybe.
weaker for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But I'm not one of those Canadians who's gonna mock you for it. I get, I'll tell you what you do better than anybody is fucking food. The portions of food that you get in America, specifically, like especially I would say in the Midwest, like the portions are outstanding. I find myself wanting to applaud at most restaurants.
Yeah, here's your
Just
half a cow and 18 potatoes. Enjoy.
Yeah, I've made the mistake of ordering a side of something with whatever I ordered, and every time I'm like, why the fuck did I think that was gonna be needed? I like I remember what we were in Dilworth, Minnesota, and went to this bar that had just opened. So it was like all this brand new stuff, and they were doing all these deals, right? And it was like appetizer things. And I ordered like one of something and one of something else. So two things, right? The guy brings the one thing, and I go, oh no, I wanted two things, but it's one of these and one of the other. And he goes, no, that is one. And I'm like, this is one? This is a one serving? This is a fucking, you're telling me this is an appetizer? Somebody would eat that and then a full meal? And he's like, yeah, your other thing is on its way. It was the most, I can't believe legally they can call it an appetizer. It was unbelievable. But I just remember at the end of that, like as I'm walking out the door, just being like, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That is one thing America does way better than us, and I would argue probably maybe the entire world, with the exception of Italy, because I think they pack it on pretty good. But fuck, your portion sizing is
well, obviously we enjoy it.
We definitely enjoy this shit. So
oh dude, it's absolutely amazing. Me and the guy that was opening for me in the US, he's also from Canada and bigger guy, so we have a love of food. And just the amount of times we would just be no words spoken, eating for however long and just looking at each other and nodding like, can you believe that they finally have figured out portion sizes for the two of us? What have we been missing all our lives?
Yeah. Have you ever gotten back onto that TV show that you watched when you were a kid, that Laugh Factory or whatever it was? Did you ever get onto
Just
that
for
show?
Laughs?
Just for Laughs. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, it's still happening. A version of it. There's actually multiples of them now, because there's what I would watch was from the main gala at the Just for Laughs Comedy Festival. And now they have that. They have a thing called All Access, which is like at a smaller venue. And they have Homegrown, which is for comedians that are specifically from Canada. And then they have specials that they tape for Netflix and stuff. So I've not gotten on any of those as of yet. Still working on that.
Whose door do we got to kick in to help you out here?
Zoe Rabnett. That's whose door you got to kick in. Find Zoe Rabnett and tell her she's the talent booker for all of that kind of stuff. And we have a good, like, she's been very nice, and I've done showcases and stuff over the years. I think the main issue, actually, I'm almost 100% on this, that the main issue is because it's so in the moment and improvised, they need like a written out transcript of what you're going to say, and I can't technically provide that. So I am in the process of doing a written, like trying to do more written stuff and a written set and try to do like a full special like that, to see if that changes things or opens up some doors. But as of right now, I think that's been the issue.
What are some of the things you pull like inspiration from when you're writing? Like the news, just daily events, pop culture?
Not the news. I don't like, I hate politics, and I know nothing of like, I wouldn't even get into a discussion on politics. I'd listen to either side. I'll listen to somebody explain why Joe Biden or our guy, Trudeau, I don't even know his fucking name, but I know your guy's name because it's way better. But yeah, so like I'd listen to anybody on that side. I'd listen to a person about like Trump or about whoever Trudeau beat or whatever. We have a guy in Ontario, Canada, who's like he'd be like a governor, I guess, for you guys. Do you guys governors are the state, right?
Yep.
So he's like that. I don't even know what they call him here, but and he's like kind of a goofy sort of fucking guy that people complain about all the time. So I'll listen to all that. I'll listen to either side and stuff like that. But I don't personally get into it or have any opinions on it. I don't really, and I would never argue with somebody over that kind of stuff. So with that, you really want to, when you're writing, like for me at least, I want to pull from stuff that I would know about or stuff that I could talk about that isn't necessarily an opinion about something where I could divide the room. It's more about stuff, either stupid shit people have said or stuff about my family or stuff I've experienced, or like, a main portion of it when I'm writing stuff is about how my life I've never, had like a real job and sort of experienced that like alarm clock, you have to set an alarm and get up because you have to be somewhere. For me, if I don't get up, I just start an hour later with booking than I was going to. Like nobody,
Right.
So, and it's kind of my view of the world through that lens of somebody who's fascinated by, the little things that people go through that they would never think about, but I do because it's not something I've experienced.
So you just touched on a subject. You didn't have to set an alarm clock. You never had to deal with that. How did COVID affect that?
Actually, I wouldn't say I've never had to experience an alarm clock because I have had real jobs along the way, but never like a career. You know the difference between like, I'm
Yep.
like at one point I was delivering coffee to fucking workplaces, and that's a job. That's not a career. So, I've had those kind of things, and I've always hated the fucking alarm clock thing. Always hated that. So, sorry. I just wanted to clarify that. But your question was, how did COVID affect
How did COVID
comedy?
affect, your comedy and your life over that a year to two period?
Yeah, it was at the beginning, to be quite honest with you, it was very devastating because it eliminated, like, I was on the road. I was out in California. I had left my apartment, put everything in storage, or by storage, I mean in my mother's basement, and went to California, was there for a few months doing some stuff in that area, and then had an entire tour booked across the US up into Canada. Probably like 80 dates or some 75, 80 dates, something like that over the course of several months. And then basically had it where I was going to be coming back to California the next year. And all of that was gone, like between that Monday to Wednesday period. It was just gone. And my whole life was basically on the road, and I'd given up my apartment. So it was like, we were going to be on the road, just, steady the whole time. And so that is all of a sudden just gone. So I have no idea what, like, I don't have another job. I don't even have like a podcast where, I'm sponsored and that can pay the bills or anything. It was just like everything immediately gone. So there was a real dark time and dark period there for a little while. For me, just kind of like not knowing what to do. My saving grace was that over the years, I've built up a good clientele of corporate shows that I've done for different companies. And because companies were now working from home and didn't have to come in and stuff like that, they were looking for stuff to kind of break up their day. And I started booking these corporate online virtual corporate shows where I'd pop on a Zoom call.
Nice.
I'd perform for 20, 30 minutes, whatever, and then I'd pop out. And with the way I do stand up, I couldn't do the crowd work because everybody has to be muted. So what I would do is they would send me information about their company, people, that kind of thing. And then I'd go online, read a little bit about the company on their website, and then create a show for them. Again, personalize it about the company, the people, that kind of stuff, and then pop on, do the show. And that's what, I started booking a bunch of those, and that's what saved me during that time.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, right? Creative. When I saw that you did corporate and you work clean and all that, I figured maybe Zoom would have helped. But that was why my question was there, because we've spoke to some musicians and actors and stuff, and they were like, it just dried up. Everything just dried up for that period for the performing arts,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But for you, it sounds like you had a whole tour scheduled and it just halted. Now, could you get back into Canada right away? Because I know like they shut down the border there for a while.
Yeah. So if you were a citizen of Canada, you were allowed back in, but you had to go straight from the border to a 14-day quarantine away from anybody. I had to live in an apartment for not an apartment, a hotel for 14 days, just by myself in a hotel room. And there was a lot of hotels shut down. They wouldn't even let people stay there. So I was at one. I wasn't even in the I grew up in London. That's my hometown. I wasn't even in London. I was in some other town, like about an hour and a half away. And I was lucky enough that they were doing like quarantine rooms or something like that, which was crazy expensive. But you had to do it because if they caught you around somebody, there was like a text message threat sent to my phone, basically saying like, we know you're in America and come back home right now. And if we find out that you're around somebody else when you get home, it's like $75,000 or something, like some fucking insane. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. The way Canada and Ontario handled it was like so fucked up, but that's a whole other thing. But yeah, so sitting there in that hotel for 2 weeks, normally if I had 2 weeks alone in a hotel, I'd come out of that with a tour booked, because I'd do that and we'd be doing content stuff. But I had no idea what to do. So I watched a shitload of Frasier. It was on quite a bit.
Yeah.
Really got caught up with that show, and CSI New York, and then just fell into this like ridiculous sleep schedule where sometimes I'd be up till 7, 8, 9 in the morning, and then have breakfast and then pass out at like 10 a.m., wake up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and like live this sort of vampire night life thing, and had a cop come and check and make sure I was actually staying at the hotel. Make sure I didn't leave. You weren't allowed to go get food. You could have food delivered, but you weren't allowed to like get in your car and even go through a drive-through during that first initial quarantine period. So yeah, crazy time.
Now, doing the crowd work, have you done any roasts? Because like celebrity roast seems like something would be right in that pocket, right in that groove.
I haven't done a lot of roast. The biggest issue with the roast thing is you got to submit the jokes ahead of time. And so, I mean, that's something I could do, like think about something or whatever. But a lot of the stuff with the crowd work, because it happens right in the moment, that's the uniqueness of it. That's what makes it special, is it's happening right there, as opposed to like somebody famous that you could think about, something that anybody could think about. It's happening to like a regular Joe. So it's not something I've attempted yet, but something I would try for sure. But I'm not 100% sold on whether or not I could do it, but I'd try it.
Do you think there's do you think like roasting is a different craft than crowd work, which is a different craft than just straight slinging jokes all night?
Yeah, they're all different styles. I don't know. They're all, I guess, the same craft, which would be overall comedy or stand-up comedy. But just like the styles and like the specialty of it, I guess, what you specialize in. Some people really specialize in roast jokes, like specifically roasting, and they could do it for anybody, and they just know the structure of that joke and how how to really go to the edge and pull it back in and stuff like that. There are some really good people at that, and then those people may not be great at crowd work because it's in the moment. They didn't have the time to put into the actual crafting of that joke. So a lot of times those don't cross over. And then somebody who's really good at stand-up, and it depends. Are they a storyteller, a one-liner? Are they a prop person? Are they a musical thing? So there's all these different styles within the craft of stand-up comedy. And I would say part of the fun and excitement of comedy is figuring out what your voice is and where it best fits and what your kind of style and specialty is going to be.
Have you ever seen the fabulous Mrs. Maisel? Marvelous Mrs. Maisel?
No, I haven't. However, this is about the fourth time this show has been brought up in my life, and I feel like somebody somewhere is trying to tell me something. So I feel like I should watch it 100%.
So, yeah, I think it was like Joe Rogan or another comedian I just heard on a podcast was saying that's the most accurate portrayal of being a comic there is. Like, the bombing, the structuring a joke, just how you feel and see things, like in your daily life, and how you interpret it and explain it to people. And
Right.
that's why I was curious if
have you
if you'd
seen Crashing with Pete
No.
Holmes? So that is the closest thing I've ever seen to the struggle of stand-up, especially in the early days when you're first kind of starting out. So I'm curious I'm very curious. I've wanted to watch that Mrs. Maisel thing for a while because it just keeps coming up. So I'm going to check that out. But check out Crashing if you get a chance. It's on HBO, whatever their streaming thing is. And it's really, really well done. And Pete Holmes is awesome.
Are you're familiar with Mount Rushmore? That's a U.S. monument of 4 presidents. It's in the Dakotas, I think. Okay.
I feel like if I wasn't, you could easily call me an idiot. I mean, just because I'm not from America doesn't mean I. Are you familiar with Mount Rushmore? What a hilarious question. Sorry,
all right, I'm a dick.
No, not at all. No, it was just like, first of all, before we continue, are you a moron? I just want to know. No, you're not. Okay, great. Let me tell you a story. But no. Sorry. Yes, I am, and I was apparently way closer to them than I realized.
Yes,
I was
definitely.
touring through South Dakota, and we were like, it was super late at night, and we were leaving a gig and driving, and I'm like, I wonder how far. Like, I know that Mount Rushmore is I know it's in South Dakota, but I don't know where exactly. And we looked it up, and we were like 5 minutes away, but it was dark, so you couldn't.
Oh shit!
It's like pitch black, so there's no way to see. And we had to get to another town, so we never actually saw it. And I was way closer. But anyway, my apologies.
That's okay. So where I was going with it is, who would be on your Mount Rushmore of stand-up comedy? So 4 comedians are going to go on Mount Rushmore of stand-up comedy.
Fuck yeah, I know that's so tough.
I think Seinfeld's one. He said Seinfeld earlier.
I'd have to put Seinfeld on there as my. That was my real the Just for Laughs thing was my introduction to what stand-up comedy was. Jerry Seinfeld was probably the first special I saw of a comedian, and saw the full, like, what a full act is and how it's structured and how it's written out and paced and all that kind of stuff. So I'd put Seinfeld on there. Oh man, George Carlin I would have to put on there as well. I watched probably all of his HBO specials, even really young. He was my mom's favorite comedian, so I became aware of him pretty early on. and I got to see him live one time too, about a year before he died, which was great. I mean, he was, getting old at that point, but he was still fantastic. And so what is that? Two?
Two.
That's
Yeah.
Seinfeld, George Carlin, Seinfeld. Yeah, I'd have to you got to put Richard Pryor on there as well, just because he started a type of like a style of comedy and a certain way of doing comedy that has been replicated by so many people that became famous as well. Not copying, but it's not an impersonation. It's a style, and like how open, how honest, how raw he was with everything that happened to him. Like nobody was really doing that, or not at that level that I know of prior to him. So you have to give that to him. And then for me, I would put Don Rickles as number 4.
Oh, I love Don Rickles.
Yeah.
He's man, watching him do crowd work is amazing.
Yeah, he's I became aware of him like later on. Obviously he was super famous in the 70s and 80s and stuff with like Johnny Carson and stuff. I became aware of him like through the documentary Mr. Warmth, and saw that, and then started seeing him on talk shows and stuff. And then my style of his a little bit more cutting and a little bit more like
it was allowable back then though.
Oh, absolutely. And he was great at it, because the other thing was you didn't get the sense people were getting offended by it. They almost took it as a badge of honor of like, oh, Rickles fucking nailed me tonight,
Yeah.
So the style of crowd work is very different, but the fact that he was able to be the only one, like you can't name someone else of that era where it's like, oh, who talked to the audience, or who did that. It's Don Rickles. He created that whole genre in a sense because he was the only one doing it, and lots of people told him, you got to change your style or you'll never make it or whatever, and he just kept doing what he did the best and powered through, and is a legend. Like everybody's reaction when you say Don Rickles, especially to a certain generation, will be like, oh man, that guy, like I love that guy. So yeah, that'd be 4. I'd say Seinfeld, Carlin, Pryor, and Don Rickles.
That's a good Mount Rushmore.
Absolutely.
Touching on Carlin for a minute. When we spoke to you earlier about the UPAC, the theater, he had a brother that lived in town, so he would always every year would come through and do a stop here to kind of work out the kinks in his new special every year.
Oh, nice.
So he was in that theater every year because his brother lived local to us.
Wow, that's awesome.
We live very near Woodstock, New York, which is probably, I'm sure you've heard of Woodstock.
I have. London, my hometown, is very close to Woodstock, Ontario, which stole your name, I'm sure.
Is Letterkenny as big in Canada as it is here in the States?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was actually really shocked to know how big it was there. When we were in the Midwest, we found out, like, people kept asking about Letterkenny, and I know one of the guys, like Squirrely Dan, K. Trevor Wilson. I've worked with him a bunch of times. Great guy, and it was like I said, I know fucking Paul McCartney or something. People were like, Squirrely Dan?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he's just K-Trev. Like, the fuck you talking about? We shared a comedy condo, but yeah, great guy and great show. And yeah, I would say it's definitely very big. I know it's very big in Canada, and I'm glad to see it's big down there as well.
Now, do you have any aspirations to be like on a TV show or a comedy, or movies, anything like that? IMDb says you were in a TV show. Is that true?
What does it say I was in?
It was Oh man, the death. It was an episode of
Cold Blood.
Cold Blood, Death of the Beauty King.
That's the only thing on there, right?
That's it.
That's so amazing. Let me tell you what that is. Oh, first of all, I'll answer your question, and then I'll tell you a quick story about what that fucking show is. So I would do anything. I'm honestly open to any acting. I've done, tons of commercials. I've done little small bit, roles in like films, short films, and low budget, tons of shit. Stuff I would not necessarily want anybody to see, because it's just horrible. But yeah, so I've done a lot of that stuff. It's always very fun. Totally different craft and totally different art form. Acting is very difficult, and like creating a character or working that kind of stuff out is always a lot of fun. But I have a lot of respect for actors for what they go through. However, it's not something where I'm like, that's not what I'm necessarily shooting for. Like, I'm not using stand-up to become an actor or get into more acting stuff. I would always want stand-up to come first. Stand-up will be number one for me for forever. So if it's like you have 3 weeks off and you can shoot something and you're not on the road, I would do that. But if it's like, hey, we got to give up 6 months of a tour to go shoot something, I would be like, I don't think I would ever do that. Now, Cold Blood. So it's a show which is it's a murder documentary style show. So they tell you about a real murder, right? And they use the real people and the real cops that were involved in the murder. So it's kind of like Dateline or something like that in a way, where they go through like somebody got killed and here's how it happened. But they have actors who reenact the things that they're talking about that these people did. And I was one of the people, and that's how I ended up on IMDb. I'm in the thing. It's a 1 hour episode. I'm in it for a total, I would say, of 18 seconds. And I play a guy. So the episode is about the beauty king or whatever it's called. This guy, his wife decides to kill him, and she doesn't want to do it. So she hires someone, and the person she hires ends up bringing in like 8 or 9 other people. And it was at the time, or at some point in time, it was the largest single arrest on a murder case in Canada. Like the most people involved in one murder of one person in Canada, or it might not have even been in Canada, in Canada or the US somewhere. But they were all involved in killing one guy. And so she goes to like some dude, and that dude finds someone, and he's like, okay, we need someone to drive the car. We need somebody to get the thing. And I was the guy I drove the car, the getaway car, and I bring the gun. And so that kills him. So I drive the guy up in the car. So I'm in a pool hall, and I answer a phone call, and I go like, I'm like, yeah. And then that's the whole scene. That's all you see of me. And then they do the deal at a bar, and they pass this envelope down, and I'm at the end of the bar smoking a cigarette, and they pass the thing down, and I'm like, I open the thing up, and I nod like that, and then I put it down. 2 seconds. And then I drive up in the fucking car outside of the mansion, and I take the gun out and I give it to the guy, and that's it. You never see me again for the rest of the thing, because then they go into the murder. Oh, you see the car drive away, and you see my arm, but I'm not technically on screen. It's my arm hanging out the car. So that's the total. Well, I don't even know, maybe under 18 seconds, might have been 9 seconds. I have no idea. And it's my one and only IMDb credit. And I didn't say a fucking word. There's no talking. It's just me nodding and passing a gun. And that's how I got on there.
Yeah, and that kind of surprised me, because you've had specials that were on Amazon Prime, right?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, two specials that were on Amazon Prime, and I mean, I've done like acting stuff. They just for I don't know how you end up on there or who put that there. Like it wasn't me, and I have no idea how things get
Yeah.
on there. But yeah, and I've done like I did a couple things for MTV, and stuff like that. But nobody ever that never went on. That never went on there.
So now in like a few days or a week or so, you're gonna have a special coming out, right?
Yes, yeah, it's my first special that I'm putting out on YouTube that everyone can see. The other ones were weird. The Amazon Prime was only available in two. It was like the US and the UK wasn't available in Canada, which was fine because I have most of anybody that follows me is from the US anyway. So that was cool. But not everybody has Amazon Prime, and so this is the first one that's like it's free and will be accessible to everybody on my YouTube channel, which is the Jeff Leeson Show.
All right, and we got that running there. And it's how'd you come up with that title? Sorry, I'm not Kevin Hart.
Well, I was doing the show was filmed at a comedy club in Tucson, Arizona called Laughs Comedy Club, and they're awesome, by the way. And I was doing, I believe we did 5 shows there. No, 4 shows there. So 2 a night over 2 days. And I was sort of filming. I always film everything, but I was kind of looking for something that would be done in a club, in a packed, like really kind of sound good and like low ceilings and really good audio and stuff to put on YouTube as a special. And this was, I think it was our last show. And I asked somebody a question, and I thought he was sitting next to his wife and he was sitting with his sister. And I said, I think I asked him, like, where's your wife? And his buddy answered, his wife went to see Kevin Hart, who was also in town in Tucson doing like the arena or whatever the fuck he was doing. And so she had chosen to go see him over me. Then I took his phone and recorded a message on his phone for his wife, just thanking her for making that choice. And so we put it all together, and we're trying to figure out a name, and it's kind of built around this moment where this guy goes to see Kevin Hart. So that's where the name came from. Sorry, I'm not Kevin Hart, which I am, and sometimes, so I just want everybody to know that if you were going to a show and you were expecting to see Kevin Hart and it is me, I am sorry that I'm not Kevin Hart, just in general. So I may start opening each show with that also, where I go to a town and I go, before we even begin, I'm sorry, I'm not Kevin Hart. Now, and then I'll go into it.
That is awesome. So before we let you go, I had a few questions I wanted to ask. Favorite Canadian things. So your favorite Canadian food.
Poutine. I mean, Poutin is what they call it in Ottawa and Quebec. And if you don't while you're there, they get fucking so mad. But it is poutine everywhere else. Poutin, I believe, is the whatever they call it. But yeah, poutine would have to be my favorite Canadian food. I would go poutine. A close second would be ketchup chips.
Oh man, I don't know if I don't know if I can get down with that.
I know. Listen, I was the exact same way. I know how you feel, and I know what you're thinking. I know. Have you ever had all dressed chips?
Yes, love them.
Okay. If you like all dressed, I feel like you would enjoy ketchup because it's not quite what you have. What I had envisioned was, have you ever taken a plain chip, dipped it in ketchup and ate it?
Yeah.
And the ketchup, yeah. So the ketchup is like really sweet, overpowering, and the chip is like soaked in it, right?
Right.
Totally different experience on the ketchup chip. Specifically, Pringles ketchup, I would say, are the best version of ketchup because they have it's the least amount of the like powdery stuff on it and just a
Gotcha.
nice little kick. If
Okay.
I'm ever in your area, I'm gonna bring you some ketchup chips because
Hell
I
yes.
feel like your current thought on it was exactly the same way as mine. I didn't try them for years.
Yeah.
For that exact reason. I feel like it's going to be disgusting. Changed my life. Changed my whole life, guys.
If you're bringing us any food, you got to bring us some Kraft peanut butter because we do not have that here.
What?
Yeah. It
Yeah,
does not exist.
you don't have it in America. And I have friends from Canada that bring it to me occasionally, and it's phenomenal.
What the fuck? What?
There's
Yeah.
no Kraft peanut butter. No,
Do you mean in the town you live in or in
No.
America?
in America.
Do you have Kraft dinner though?
We have like Kraft macaroni and cheese
cheese.
and that stuff,
So
but not
Kraft-
the peanut butter.
What the fuck? Well, it's the
Yeah.
best peanut butter.
It is.
Talk about fucking life changing. I tasted it when he had it. That shit is phenomenal.
It's so good. Kraft. I'm upset. I'm upset right now. This type of thing upsets me way more than politics.
That's right. Hurt for us because we can't get it regularly. It's not.
Oh
not
my
fair.
God. Listen, guys, I want you to know if I ever become an influencer of any kind, my first order of business is going to be starting some sort of petition to get Kraft peanut butter all over America, particularly in your area.
Fuck yeah, absolutely.
That's
I'm down
an
with that.
absolute travesty. That's a
It's
travesty. That's the
So-
worst thing I've ever heard about America.
All right. So, favorite Canadian musician, and please don't say Celine Dion.
Well, then nobody. No,
Isn't
man.
Bieber Canadian?
Rush.
Bieber is Canadian, and I really like Justin Bieber. His music, especially right now, he's very, very good, very talented as well. But like overall, I'm trying to think of who.
Well, who's like your favorite band in general, or singer?
Yeah, that's that.
Do you not listen to a lot of music?
I listen to mostly well, I shouldn't say mostly. I listen to my Spotify list is basically songs from the radio that I've heard over the years. And because that's the only time I really listen to music. So it's kind of all over the place. So it's really more about like individual songs. Like my favorite song would be Time of Your Life or Good Riddance by Green Day. But I don't necessarily like all of Green Day. Not to say I don't like their stuff, but
Sure.
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna go with Classified. I'll go with Classified. He's a Canadian hip hop, I think hip hop R&B, something like that, rapper maybe.
Okay.
And he's really good. And I probably have more of his songs on my playlist than any other Canadian artist. So I'll go with Classified.
All right. Cool. Favorite Canadian professional athlete, if you have one.
All time?
Yeah.
Or current? Okay,
I'll go all time.
Favorite Canadian athlete all time?
We can include professional wrestlers as well.
What do you
Oh,
got to
shit.
Hitman Hart or something?
Wow, that opens up a whole. I was a massive wrestling fan. I was not necessarily a Bret Hart guy. Favorite Canadian athlete? You know what? I'll go Wayne Gretzky. I'll go with the great one. Yeah, gotta go Wayne Gretzky.
Who was your favorite wrestler by chance?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
My man.
There we go.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, man. He brought me back. Like I was 80s and early 90s Hulk Hogan era.
Yep.
I loved that when I was a kid. Got out of it totally. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin, I saw him like, it was like in a commercial on a Canadian sports channel, him stunnering Vince McMahon. And I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Why is he stunnering the announcer guy? And then I tuned in on Monday and I was hooked, and I don't watch it now because it's mostly for kids, but like when I was a teenager, oh man, Had to watch it.
Is Brett really a big deal though in Canada?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know how he is now, but like back in his era, huge in Canada and especially in Alberta because he's from Calgary. So like if he was ever in Calgary or he was at a Flames game or something like that, people would just go fucking nuts for him. He was like,
wow.
He was a Canadian hero in a lot of ways. Like get off the plane and there'd be people like standing out. Yeah,
that's cool.
him. Yeah, people absolutely loved him.
I'm a Kevin Owens guy. He's from Canada.
Oh, Kevin Owens is actually I get called him.
I was gonna say you got a very really similar look.
Yeah, to I could see that. Yeah, absolutely.
There was a comedy club I was working at in Toronto, and the door guy was really funny. We were joking around about. He likes wrestling. We were joking around about Kevin Owens, and he drew in the green room while I was on stage on this board. He drew a picture of me and then put like Jeff Leeson or Kevin Owens ? And it could have been either one the way that it was drawn. So yeah, love Kevin
awesome.
Owens. Oh, and I think Kevin Owens is the funniest wrestler as well. Like the clips I've seen of him. I don't know if you've ever seen. There's one at a house show. It's not on TV. It's at a house show from a cell phone, and he's got a guy in a headlock on the ground, and he's just chirping a guy in the audience. The guy's like, "You suck," and he's like, "I suck. I made more money this week than you made all year. You shut the fuck up." And he's still got whoever in a fucking headlock.
He talks more shit than anybody that's doing it right now. So yeah, he is great. What do you got, G-Mac?
Have you ever worn a Canadian tuxedo? It's probably our reference.
So
go ahead, explain it.
In America, if you wear denim jeans with a denim shirt and a denim jacket, you are wearing a Canadian tuxedo.
Why?
No fucking idea where it came from, but we have a good buddy that has been rocking the Canadian tuxedo for years. We always let him know it.
Hold on. So you're wearing jeans with a denim shirt and then a jean jacket?
Correct. Yeah. You got
denim? Are they
the whole ensemble?
Different color denim?
All blue denim.
Well, I mean, it could be
the black denim too, I guess.
Yeah. But that's what we call Canadian tuxedo.
That's the Canadian tuxedo.
But where did you hear that? Was that just like from you just kind of heard it in life?
Yeah, like local comedy, probably some U.S. comedy bit, I'm sure.
Interesting.
It might have been wrestling back in the day or something.
It very well could have been wrestling, but yeah, because the Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah, because I have heard the term Canadian tuxedo before, but I thought it was referring to those tuxedo T-shirts?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought it was that with the sleeves cut off because people talk about, and I think what that's in reference to, I think what they're talking about there is Albertans, Alberta specifically, because that's how they would dress. Maybe Saskatchewan and Manitoba, actually.
It's all coming together right now.
It does kind of make sense, actually. It does. I love the fucking jean jacket over. Like, there's already not enough denim on your body. And this guy's like,
one more layer.
So Jay Leno, back in the day, when he would dress in jeans and a denim shirt, but he didn't have the jean jacket. So is that like not
casual? That's a casual Friday for the Canadian tuxedo.
Yeah, Canadian casual Friday.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
Oh, fuck!
And it's usually acid wash too.
Yeah, it's of the acid wash variety.
Your friend that does it, is it literally every time you see him, that is what he's wearing, or is that just his go-to if he's like going to a bar or something?
No, we've seen him in it a few times.
Yeah, I would say, especially when the fall rolls around, that's like a 65% outfit. Yeah.
Does he have multiple of them, or is it the same one each time?
No, it's multiple.
It's multiple.
Yeah.
And a flat top, and he has a flat top buzz cut.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Does he go hat or
to
no
the
hat?
point we used to call him Chet Levi, remember?
Yeah, we did. We called him Chet Levi because he was always in fucking denim.
And remember Weird Science, the brother Chet?
No. No,
you never
I'm
saw.
sorry.
You might be. A
I
little
brought
young.
things to a screeching halt there.
No,
We
no,
were
no.
having-
But
all right.
have you ever
We're having
remember?
great laughs, and I'm like, no,
It's
idea.
it's the guy Chet in Weird Science, the
yeah.
brother. He has the same flat top, and he looks just like the guy, which was Paxton, right?
Yeah, Bill Paxton.
Bill Paxton. He looked like Bill Paxton.
Oh, okay. Chet
Oh,
Leeson.
shit.
Yep, Chet Levi. That was his name because
awesome.
he'd always wear that fucking Canadian tuxedo.
Yep, everywhere he went.
Next time you're with your buddy in the fall when he starts dressing like that again, try and snap a picture and send it to me. I'm fascinated.
100%.
We may even have one lying around.
Listen, we're getting you to town, and we're bringing him
front row.
Yeah.
front row.
I might have to do 2 shows. That might be a whole show.
Yeah.
I did have one other thing. Shit.
Yeah, you had another Canadian question of some sort.
No. Oh, now if I say I don't like Tim Hortons, will that get me shot?
No, a lot of people fucking hate it.
Oh, it blows.
Yeah.
I had it in Buffalo. It was fucking awful.
Yeah, Tim Hortons. I think I think the situation with Tim Hortons is whoever was the original owner or whatever of it, like whatever company was the original one, they had different coffee. And a few years ago, they switched coffee, and people hate it was an uprising. It was as close to Canadians will ever come to like a full-on countrywide riot because Tim Hortons switched their coffee. Now, what has happened since then is McDonald's here has found what coffee it was, and that's now their coffee. So McDonald's may be number 1 in Canada for coffee right now, overtaking Tim Hortons. And a lot of people love Starbucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Tim Hortons, their coffee game failed them, and so now they're adding stuff like they've got full lunch menu sandwiches, all that kind of stuff, because their coffee is like so low now on the totem pole since they made that switch. And it was all because of who they got bought out by. Like some company took over, I think with Burger King or something like that, whatever their parent company is. So yeah, if you said I fucking hate Tim Hortons, most of the people around you would be like, right on, man. Me too. Fuck those people. Yeah.
All right.
I just have one last thing I want to touch on. Leeson learned. How do you, I found a couple episodes. I listened. That was our intro song. Was from your actual podcast.
I was gonna say, how did you guys find that that music? Because the guy who did it, I was like, he told me he did that for me. How the fuck are you guys using the same music? I paid the guy. I'm like, I paid this guy money to like create a beat that we could use, and he just gave it to you guys. What the hell's going on here? So I was gonna ask that, but now I'm glad that's where you found it on the podcast. But yes, sorry, what was your question? Sorry.
No, just touch on your podcast and like what, because it seems like your podcast is kind of similar to ours. Like we like to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has a story. I don't feel you have to be famous to be interesting. And some of our better interviews have been like a local guy that does blacktop. It was probably one of our highest rated interviews. So, right. That's what it seems like when I look through your library of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't got out of doing that podcast just because the touring stuff, it really started during the pandemic. Like that's when I really put the most time into it. And then once touring came back and we were doing so much with video stuff, because right now with our video content, we're doing like YouTube, but we're also doing daily Facebook reels, Instagram reels, TikTok stuff. So it just unfortunately that the podcast kind of fell by the wayside in the last little while, but it was a lot of fun. And that was my goal, was just, and you're absolutely right. Like for the most part, the average person is more fascinating than a celebrity, just because they're going to they're not media trained usually. So they're going to say shit that's raw and stuff like that. And I've always loved, obviously in my stand-up, it's about talking to people and asking questions, and I'm very curious. So I tried to sort of bring that over into the podcast game, and had a lot of fun with that. And it's definitely something I want to do. We're working on a couple of podcast ideas right now as like a little bit of a change and a switch up and sort of doing some other stuff. But that was a lot of fun, and definitely I enjoyed talking to a wide variety of people.
Nice. I've never heard somebody talk about lights and get me laughing my balls off so much in my life. The twinkling lights at the Legion. Like, you went in on those lights. That was the best.
Twinkly lights, yeah.
I was laughing my ass off at that. That was what I think the first thing I sent to him was those lights, and how see, because that's what's interesting to me is how anybody can make something funny out of, it's lights on the wall, but you nailed it. Like,
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Yeah, that's a lot of that stuff is very fun for me, because I noticed that in every room I'm ever in. Like, immediately when I go in, something catches my eye.
Yep.
But if you're at a house party or you're at a restaurant or something, you can't turn to your date and be like, "What's with these fucking twinkly lights?" Like what are you talking about? That's the lighting. It's whatever it is. But so that's what's fun for me, is taking stuff like that. And then the other part to me is watching the faces of people, because some people elbow their friend and be like, "I told you, right? I told you about the fucking lights, remember?" And then other people are like, "Oh, I never even noticed those. Oh yeah, they are kind of twinkly, And so bringing people in with whatever is in the room. So I always love stuff like that. And anytime I can go to a venue that's got something unique about it or something that really stands out, I always try to incorporate that into the show.
That's awesome. Why don't you plug your social media, let everybody know where they can find you, where they could book you at, where they see you next?
Yeah, I right now I am doing the rest of my Ontario run. So this weekend I'm in Kitchener, Ontario, or next weekend. Is this airing now, or just when does this go out?
No, we'll put it out tonight.
Oh, tonight. Okay,
later
so
tonight,
yeah.
so it'll be out for the weekend.
Sweet, there you go. So this weekend, and then in the fall I'll be doing a U.S. tour. So we're going to all over the place: North Dakota, Minnesota, Montana, Kansas, Nebraska, Wisconsin, South Dakota, I think. Boston, October 26th. Very excited to be there for the first time. And you can follow me.
New York? Can we get you in New York?
Dude, so I've been trying to go along with, I'm going to Pennsylvania, and I'm also Pennsylvania. And so I've been trying to line something up for that week in New York. I've reached out to multiple venues and multiple cities, and nothing's happened yet. So
we'll have to send you the info for the local.
There's a couple local spots.
Yeah, I would love that, because I'm always looking to add stuff and always looking to work with new people in new cities and new areas, and trying to open up different markets. And I'm also noticing on social media, as the numbers build a little bit, I'm able to see where people are watching from or where people are following from, and kind of target my routing and touring and stuff that way. But and you can follow on TikTok, Jeff Leeson Comedy. YouTube is the Jeff Leeson Show. Instagram is Jeff Leeson Comedian. Facebook is Jeff Leeson Comedy as well.
Nice. Anything else, Winnie?
No, I just want to say thanks for donating some of your time on a Sunday afternoon, and looking forward to the special, and hopefully looking forward to getting in the area. And you will be bringing some Kraft peanut butter with you.
If you guys are able to help me line up a show there, I will bring a fucking case of peanut butter.
That's what I'm talking about.
From Kraft. Kraft has I think a factory is near here, or it's somewhere close, I know. So maybe I'll just go right to the factory and say, "Listen, your next 1,000 boxes of that fucking peanut butter, give it to me. I got a delivery to make." But yeah, no, awesome. I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you for having me, and this was a lot of fun, and I appreciate you guys letting me be a part of the Outlaw Blitz.
Appreciate it, buddy.
Our pleasure.
Hopefully we see you in town soon here by us. We'll definitely stop out and participate and let you pick on Highland's name a little bit
all
more.
day long.
Highland the third. There's
Yeah,
fucking
and we'll-
3 of you. I
and we'll
thought
bring-
I would
and
never
we'll bring
have
Chet
guessed
Levi.
there's 3.
Yeah.
Oh, bring
Yep.
Chet Levi. Are you guys? Is this for real? Are you
This
guys
is fucking
dead
with
serious.
me?
real. 100% serious.
I will find a picture and send it to you tonight on Messenger.
Oh, it's amazing. Chet Levi. Chet Levi, if you're watching this, I hope to see you at a show real soon. I'll know exactly who you are.
You most definitely will.
All denim. Make sure it's an all denim. We'll book it in the fall or sometime where it's not too hot. You don't have fall sweat dripping down part of your Canadian tuxedo. Chet Levi.
Oh, shit.
All right, take us home, buddy.
All right. For Jeff Leeson and G-Mac, this is Winnie. This has been the Outlaw Blitz interview podcast. And as always, take it deep.
That's that. We can end the recording, but
all right. We're off